Now, the main idea behind the paper floor dungeons is to print out floor tiles in full color on your printer at home. Then you'll take them and glue them down onto something stiff like foam core board or cardboard. After you glue them down, you'll paint some wall sections and glue them along the sides. And when you get done, you will have dungeon rooms in sections that have the 3D walls around them, but the floor is in full color. Now, the main advantage of this is it takes a whole lot less time to simply print out the floor than it does to cast all of the floor tiles and then paint them up for the floor of the dungeon you're making. The other advantage is this is full color, so any artwork that you can find for the floor, you can use for your floor rather than having to paint it yourself. Now, if you're printing out the floor and gluing it down, you have a lot of options available to you. The first option is to print out the plans that I have for it. Print those out, glue them down, and then glue the walls around it for your dungeon. But you don't have to use the plans that I have. I have also, in my printed plans, included a couple of other pages. One of those is just flat, floor tiles that are there. And what you can do is you can glue that down to paper or cardstock, and then glue the walls down on top of it to make whatever shape of dungeon rooms that you want. Another option that I've done, you'll notice this one has got kind of light sources here and a few shadows on it. I did also include a page that has no light sources and shadows, so that if you want, you can bring it into your own graphics program and lighten it here and darken it there, so that depending on how you design your room, you want the light sources coming in at the corners or whatever, at least you have the option to do that. Now, you're not limited to whatever I come up with. These are floor tiles that I have designed from scratch, so you are free to use them for whatever dungeon you want to make, as long as it's not commercial or anything like that, just for your project at home. Now, there are other options that you have if you don't want to use mine, or if you want a different color, or you want some other options. One of them that I found that is really handy, this is Stone Tile Kit number 1 from Dave Graffam Models. The easiest way to find this is just do a Google search for Dave Graffam Models Stone Tile Kit number 1. And the first entry that comes up right here is Stone Tile Kit number 1. You pick on it and it takes you to their website. And for $1.95, you can, if you look at the links on the left, you can get it through Drive-Thru RPG, Piazzo, and some of the others. I got mine through Drive-Thru RPG. Notice that it's $1.95. You add it to the cart, you download it immediately, and after you download it, you open it up in Adobe Acrobat, which is what opens PDF files. And when you open it, it looks like this. And when I first saw it, I was a little bit confused because I thought, where's the tiles on this? But what you do is you look over on the left and you'll see this paper, and you see a paper clip, and then you see these layers here. What you want to do is you want to open the layers palette here, and these are all the different layers and all the different options to this thing. And I thought it was pretty interesting, and I found out that all of the layers are down here at the bottom. Like, go for base 1. So if you pick base 1, that's what it looks like right there. And then I tried picking base 2, and I thought, well, that doesn't look any different. What's going on? And it's because base 2 is underneath of base 1. Base 1 is hiding base 2. So if I remove base 1, okay, now I see base 2 is showing up under there. So what you need to do is start at the bottom. Start with base 5. That's what it looks like. And base 4 is pasted on top of one. Okay, so it's a little bit lighter. Base 3 is on top of that. And so you work your way up from there. So figure out which base you want. And let's say base 1, I like base 1, and I can unclick the others because they're underneath of base 1 anyway, doesn't matter. Now, you've got a lot of options here, which I thought were pretty cool. Like for checkers, green checkers, you pick that, and it gives you sort of a checkered room. And they've got checkers of different colors. He's got various stains here that you can choose. There's some brown stains. Here's some blood stains. You see the red stains on there. And then moss. This one right here is moss between the tiles. Here's another moss. And it actually makes a lot of variety for the different rooms. And you've got some grime here. You've got some cracks here. And you can just add or take off any of those that you want. And he's even got like a vent here. So if you go for vent 4, it'll stick a vent there. If you can add vent 1, it'll put a 1 in another place. And just choose where you want them. And there's some rubble and some other stuff like that. So basically what you can do is customize a room, print it out, change some things, print it out, and then you'll have a lot of variety for these dungeon rooms. And these are all in exact 1-inch squares. Another option is from heroicmaps.com. And these are maps and dungeon tiles made by Joe and Sarah Bilton. And you can go to their website and you can pay for those and download them. And they have also a lot of other options you can do. Another option is simply just do a Google image search for RPG floor tiles and find, these are just examples of some that I found and pasted down. Now you may have to have a graphics program to size them so they end up printing in 1-inch increments. That may be a challenge. If that's a challenge for you, then you may not be able to do that as an option. But looking for RPG floor tiles on a Google image search, there are bunches of these. Now depending on what you do with them, you might want to look at the copyright restrictions they have. I think most of them would allow you to do personal projects on your own or use them for your own, homemade dungeons without a problem. And one last option that you have, if you do a Google image search for just stone textures. Just find any stone texture you want, and if you have a graphic program with the capability, you might be able to darken a grid on it like that and simply use that to create the dungeon rooms for whatever you want. So printing them on paper gives you a lot of visual options for the floor. In conclusion, I think printed floor dungeons are a really interesting idea. There's a lot of advantages. One is that you don't have to cast tons of floor tiles. It cuts your casting time way down. The other is that your floor is in full color. And anything that you can print out on your printer, you can actually put into the floor of the dungeon. And I think this goes beyond dungeons. Just imagine any game that you have, or any type of game map that you have, adding walls three-dimensionally to it. I just think it opens up a lot of possibilities and a lot of ideas. Anyway, continue watching the rest of the video for how you actually assemble and create these dungeons with a printed floor.